This afternoon again for our regular presentation as far as health. We will have again the topic about the importance of water. Isn't this a nice coming together that we may learn about the nature of what God has created for healing? And one of this is water. And again, I always like to read what the prophet has said concerning this particular subject. I'm going to read to you just a small statement, or short statement, I should say, that she mentioned here in the book of Ministry of Healing, page 237, paragraph 1. Titled Water, Drinking Pure Water, a Blessing. It says, in health and in sickness, pure water is one of heaven's choicest blessings. Its proper use promotes health. It is the beverage which God provided to quench the thirst of animals and man. Drunk freely, it helps to supply the necessities of the system and assist nature to resist disease. That's just a short statement. But if you actually read this particular chapter, you will gain much more understanding of how water helps us. This is what God has created. This afternoon, we're going to have Brother Richard Chase over here present to us of actually what he has learned about water. And I hope that each and every one of us over here can benefit from that. So I'd like to call in Brother Richard.
Yeah, we might as well move away.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Maybe I draw it.
That's a hard thing to do. It's a beast, and it's broken.
Well, let's move this down this hill. We can.
It's got a foot on the front, very front center.
That's good.
Oh, here. Okay, what a big topic this is. First of all, I have a background in, my first degree was at the University of Washington in oceanography. A lot of people think, oh, you're a marine biologist. No, actually I'm not. I'm a geologist, and I'm a marine geologist, so I can tell you about underwater rocks. Not so much about underwater creatures that are swimming around. And then, 8 or 10 years later, I went back to school and got a degree in computer science. So mostly I do database work now, and I specialize in stormwater. So I'm still involved with water, with my computers also. So I do what's called geospatial information system work, which is mapping programs. You can imagine a map, but now it's done electronically. It's sort of like when you use Google Maps. They have a database behind there, and some atlases will have distances between different points. So that would be some data associated with the different points of that map. You can store that data separately, electronically in different files. And so you can put layers of the maps together. You can overlay them and manipulate the data, mine the data for how many children. If you can look at census data and where those children live, you can see where we might need to put a new school because the population is trending towards that area, the growth area there. Children, not, and there might be another growth area where it's mostly elderly people. So we probably don't need a school. So you can use GIS information for that. Anyway, this is talking about water, and it was very interesting to me that there's still 2.1 billion people that globally lack safe water at their home. 263 million spend more than 30 minutes per round trip collecting water per day. 263 million people. So they'll have to go half an hour to get water per day. 159 million people drink water directly from surface sources, just lakes and streams. They don't actually get underground water. 844 million don't have basic drinking water services. They're going to go somewhere else. So the universal and equitable access to safe water is an important thing for the world. The UN declared in 2010 that it's a basic human right that people should have access to affordable, healthy water. This is a map or a table of the world population. In 1927, we actually reached 2 billion. We had only 1 billion people on the planet in 1804. So it took 123 years for that population to double to 2 billion. And it only took 33 years for the next billion to show up. And then 14 years for the next billion after that. So it kind of rounded off a little bit here. And about every 10, 12 years, you can see it's getting shorter. That was 1999. We're at 7.5 billion now. That's about 10 years, 15 years later.
Richard?
Yeah.
Can we go this way?
This way, this way, this way.
That's a lot better. That's so much better. All of that, yeah. Now we can see, we can actually. Good job.
Interestingly, we had a little bit of research on the history of sanitation and water and urban sources, urban environments. And several sites I found agree that the earliest known permanent settlement, which can be identified as urban, according to modern water and wastewater industry, is Jericho in Israel. These guys' dates, maybe off a little bit, but you get the idea that they serve water in wells. Okay.
Ready to get all set.
That, we need to stand too. I'm going to gesture. Sure.
Hey, Richard, just don't water it down, okay?
See, and they transported water. Egypt used hollow palm trees, and China and Japan used bamboo trunks. Eventually, people started using clay, wood, metal, rock to channel water, different places. And I think that was very interesting to me that Jericho was mentioned in there.
Yeah.
This first source was from Lentech that does water contracting and building. The first two slides I have here are from different sources, early histories. The second one is from I can't remember what that stands for. But they also said the earliest known permanent settlement was Jericho, and it was located near springs and other bodies of water. And in Egypt, there's traces of wells, and Mesopotamia, stone rainwater channels. From the Bronze Age in Pakistan, there was a city where archaeologists found hundreds of ancient wells, water pipes, and actually toilets, indoor plumbing. First evidence of purposeful construction of the water supply, bathrooms and toilet, comes from around 2,000 years before Christ. So Jericho is still a city of palm trees And below this ancient mound is a Tel, a sultan. To the east, there's a spring called Elijah's Fountain. And this first photo was made from the Tel with a view to the east. The mountains can be seen in the distance, and close to the Tel there's a building with a red tile roof. So right down here, this building with the red tile roof is the pumping station that provides water for the whole modern city of Jericho there. The next photo shows the spring as it exits the ground that the pumping house is drawing water from. Perhaps it's the same spring from in the Bible, Elijah's Fountain in Jericho.
Was the Excel had covered?
No, the one that had been bitter and they threw
Salt in.
to
Yeah.
make it,
Sweet.
Yeah. When we think of Old Testament prophets, we usually think of Isaiah, Daniel, Jeremiah, Amos. When I also think of Elijah and Elisha, two of the oral prophets. They served the Lord in the last part of the 9th century BC. And the men of Jericho came to Elisha and explained the situation of the city. They said, the situation of this city is very pleasant. It's a very nice city, but the water is bad and the land is unfruitful. That's from Kings 2:19. And the prophet asked for a jar. He told the men to put salt in it. He threw salt in the water, and they were purified. And the water, reportedly, is still wonderful to this day. So God definitely has something to do with our water supply. And He's used water throughout history. After this, ancient Greek and Rome became really knowledgeable in engineering water supplies. The first modern urbanization of Europe occurred during about 500 BC to 500 AC around the Mediterranean, and the share of urban population reached about 10 to 20% in the centuries around the birth of Christ. The most urbanized areas were the eastern Mediterranean, Egypt, North Africa, the Apennine Peninsula, which is modern Italy, and the southern part of the Iberian Peninsula, most of which were areas of quite modest rainfall. In this period, the archaeological and written sources become richer and consequently improve our possibilities to study these relationships between water and the health of people. So Alcmaeon of Croton, 470 BC, was the first Greek doctor to state that the quality of water may influence the health of the people. Hippocratic Treaty, Air's Water, places, which took place around 400 BC, deals with various different sources of water, quality, and effect on water and health. But we've been concerned about water quality and health since 500 years or longer before Christ. The quality of water was examined by the senses, taste, smell, and appearance, and temperature. The health of people and animals using a water source was also considered. Throughout antiquity, tasteless, cool, odorless, and colorless water were considered the best, and stagnant, marshy water was avoided. So the Greeks and Romans used different methods to improve their quality of water. From written sources, we see they've used settling tanks, sieves, filters, and the boiling of water were methods used during antiquity. So they're still valid today to use a sand sieve or filter, or boiling the water. Settling tanks helps get things out initially. But the poor level of waste management, including wastewater, most probably involved a major risk for public health. Waterborne infections must have been among the main causes of death, and still are. And it should be remembered that the water supplies have different qualities based on the status of the people that are getting the water. So a lot of water in a Roman town was consumed in the baths. Here's an aqueduct leading to Rome. Obviously, the people cared a lot about getting water to the city, and it was a major undertaking to build bridges like that, that just carried water. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, the aqueducts were no longer used. So from 500 to 1500 AD, there was very little development in the water treatment. This is in Greece, I think. There's a little aqueduct there. This little channel brought water. And had to go over this ravine. They built quite a little structure there to bring the water across. So first thing I wanted to show is the simple sand and charcoal filter. And you can make this yourself if you need to in an emergency with a 2-liter plastic bottle. Just cut the bottom off here and collect some charcoal. You can find charcoal at a campfire. You go through a campfire that's cooled down. You can find pieces of wood that are charred all the way through that snap easily and grind into a powder easily. Just collect a bunch of that. So in emergency troubled times, we can make our own filters. We can collect sand and gravel just from soil. If you dig up a bunch of soil and put it in a container and then add a lot of water to it, stir that up, and pour off the top and add some more water to it, stir it up, you can get the silt and the clay out of it, and what you're left with is just the sand and the gravel. And then if you have some kind of a screen or sieve, burlap sack or something, you can filter out, that you can separate the smaller grains from the larger grains, so you can get a gravel and a sand just from items around where you are.
Does it filter any of the germs, bacteria?
No, not really. If you have a very large version of this, you can get some biofiltration going on. But what I've seen is that even a 5-gallon size does not sterilize the water. It just filters out contaminants and makes it taste better. But there can still be Giardia and fluoride and things like that in there. So even if you use this, you still want to sterilize it in some way. If you build a large one on the order of a 50-gallon drum, you can supply a village with that, and it will filter out most of the dangerous things, nitrates and such. Here's a multi-stage filter. You can do the same idea, only with different containers, gravel, sand, and then charcoal. And then want to put some cheesecloth in the bottom of your filter, a piece of shirt or towel or something porous, or even a coffee filter, a paper towel, just so the charcoal doesn't spill all out. And then this is basically your biosand filter, which is a little larger, but it also has the basic same components, sand, gravel, and this does not have charcoal in it. It does have a dapple on the top, so when you pour in the water, it doesn't disturb all the rocks on the top. So back here on our 2-liter bottle, if you take the top of that 2-liter, or the bottom of the 2-liter bottle that you cut off, you kind of trim it around, poke some holes, and then turn it the other way and stick it on top of here. So when you pour water in, it doesn't disturb everything that's in there. So biosand filter, this is actually a copyrighted name, biosand filter. It's also called a slow sand filter that is not copyrighted. So on the CDC, Center for Disease Control site, they call it a slow sand filter. And it's basically the same thing. You can make it with a concrete, or you can make it with plastic. You can have a diffuser plate at the top, and some gravel, and then some fine sand. They actually make it upside down. You have coarse sand and gravel on the bottom, and then pull this at the top. That's something to keep the rocks, what's on top, from getting all disturbed when you pour the water in. It's just a plate with holes in it. But this dissipates the energy of that pouring water. It still drains all the water down. So there's another form of filtration, a ceramic filtration, which uses colloidal silver embedded pottery. And this is a pottery similar to some of the planters you can buy in the store that wick water up. You can put one in another. I remember having one time that kind of had a bottom that looked like this, that sat in another container, and you fill it with water and it worked the water into the plant. You could use that in reverse. You could put dirty water into it, and the dirty water would wick out of the bottom, would drain out of the bottom, and that would be filtered water. It would remove a lot of things into their bathwater. And what this group Potters for Peace found is that by injecting colloidal silver into the pottery, they could actually create something that sterilizes the water as well for very low cost. They say it does 95%, so right? That's a pretty good amount. I might have a video here.
You're going to be able to just put all this aside because the one will die.
Well,
That's a choice.
it's a choice you can make. Yeah. Connect here. Yeah, we're gonna need to see that. There is one in the water show. Where do we go here? Okay, another method is to use solar disinfection. You can take a bottle of filtered water, which is through the same slow filtration method, and put it in a plastic bottle, not quite all the way to the top, and then shake it. I don't have a plastic bottle with me, but basically you fill it up 2/3 of the way, and then shake it, and you get oxygen from that air that's in there to dissolve in the water. And when you place it in the sun will create ozone out of that oxygen that's in the water and sterilize the water. It takes about 2 hours in a very hot sun to do that. It might take about 2 days if you don't have hot sun.
3
Not-
weeks
not
over
super-
in Washington.
Not a super reliable
You
method.
can say that.
Is that anything common in poorer countries?
It's very common, yeah. If you don't have electricity, you gotta try to do what you can do. Procter & Gamble came up with a flocculant disinfectant powder, and each pack treats 10 gallons. So that's being used around the world. In natural disasters mainly, because there's more of a cost involved in that. Fluorination, I didn't put the benefits of fluorination on here, I just put the drawbacks. That the main one is the potentially long-term effects of fluorination byproducts on your health. So most municipal water supply use fluorination, and it's a good idea to remove that before you even get into some kind of active carbon filter like a grid filter or something like that.
Was the PVD filter a chlorine product?
It was a flocculant, so I don't really know if they have any chlorine in there or not. Distilled water is another way to go, where you boil the water basically, and that definitely kills the germ, well, most of the germs in there. There are germs that can live at some of the seafloor vents that are above boiling point, and they still live down there. So you can't say that it's going to remove 100% of everything.
It's close enough.
It's going up to 100.
Does your blanket have to be wool, or does it matter?
What's that?
Does your blanket have to be wool, or does
No,
it matter?
they say flannel,
Oh, flannel.
but when you do the chest, then you can cover them with wool, and then it holds the heat in. You can also check it with your elbow, just to be sure it won't burn. And if a person has diabetes or has circulatory problems, you should do the hot foot bath. okay? Because it's just dangerous because of the circulation in their feet.
We agreed
So-
to be married until death do us part, and she's trying to kill me, so you can.
So I'm really doing it, it's kind of simple. You can take your shirt off.
You can't.
Yeah.
What's scary?
So at home,
I didn't believe you.
I know you did.
Told me, he warned me.
He's on video. Smile, Art. Thanks.
You're on YouTube.
You're on camera.
while he's up here, Leanne's the one that told him he had to be the guinea pig.
I'm gonna get even with her someday. It might have been better off asking John to do this.
I really think this is not very warm anymore. I'm gonna put it directly on skin, because you're supposed to put a towel between him. Go forward, way forward, please. There we go.
But normally if it was up to temperature, you'd have a towel between that. and
Between
the
him and the towel. I hope I can get him to sweat. I have done the towels in the microwave without doing it in a kettle. Because it will go, you know, you can heat it up quicker if it's a smaller piece, but
Do you want the towels still kind of drippy, or do you want them as dry as you can get a wringing
you
one?
want them dry.
How do you, how hot are they when you normally do it?
Is it still 104 for
Not
everything?
these, I don't think so. I just took it out of the faucet. If you would,
Raise hand, Art.
raise your arms. Oh, we're losing. No. This is harder when you're setting up.
Normally they'd be laying down, and you'd have them set up, and then you lay it down, and put it down
No,
on
you have them laying down when you put this on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Carol, is this for everything? I know, muscle aches were talked about, but how about for like?
It's for pneumonia,
Okay.
chest congestion, pain, bronchitis, muscle spasms, colds, and flu. And
Can you put like eucalyptus or Vicks or something in with the water?
you
when
could,
lay on
and
their chest?
that would help open their chest. I'm forgetting my patient here.
Yeah, exactly.
Get them wrapped up.
Grandma.
You gotta give her mine would be.
And then they want you to put a cold rag on their forehead.
Don't we have to feed them cod liver oil and some ice water?
And once I told her.
Hey, Carol. Hey, Carol, can I interrupt? Art really loves you.
It really does.
You set your timer for 5 minutes. So it's not that long.
Not that long for us anyway.
Now, if you have a child that's coughing in the night, take a cold brush rag, stick it in the side of a wool sock, wrap it around their neck, pin it, and let them sleep like that all night, and their cough will stop. Wool helps draw out, you know, the infection.
Really watch
And it
out
works.
when the kid passed out.
They're still alive. So I had a friend she was in Florida, and we lived in Tennessee, and she got sick, very sick with congestion, and she thought she was gonna die, so she told her husband, we gotta get to Carol's house. Well, we lived in Tennessee, but they drove straight through, got to the house, and I put her to bed and did the compresses. She said I saved her life. But it was a miracle, you know. You can do a lot with these compresses to help improve your circulation, and
Is there a book?
I have.
You can save life.
Here's some books that are really good. This is by McNeilis, and she does a lot of work in Cambodia. But she,
What's it called?
Mary Ann, probably.
yeah, Marianne. It's God's Healing Way is one. And then it has the same thing, all these fomentation things in it. Then I have Plants and Healing, and this goes over what we learned last time and this time. And this is by George, and it's P-A-M-P-I-O-N-E, Roger. I knew the last name. But this is my favorite one. I had a friend send it to me. It covers everything.
What's it say on there?
This is Natural Remedies Encyclopedia. And when we were down at Army a few weeks ago, this is the book they were displaying. It just covers everything in it, and what I'm going to give you today is from this book. That, how to do fomentations in bath, and how we doing.
Who am I?
What's your
So do you
name?
have them drink hot water or cold
No,
water?
cold water.
Oh.
Yeah, they can just have water. Anyway, the next thing is what he's really gonna like when this buzzer goes off. Is that the end? Okay, so let's pass these out.
So how long does he set like this?
5 minutes, and then you do it again. You do it 3 times.
Not today, though.
Yeah.
It's 5 minutes, and then, get some more hot towels, and redo it, because the heat goes away.
Yeah.
So it's 3 to 5 minutes, and you do 3 times for the application.
Oh, look, diagrams and everything.
And the last thing she told me about, she warned me, then she's supposed to put me to bed. I'm looking forward to that.
Where do you get that?
The big, I think our ABC carries it. If not, I have an order form at home. But it is a marvelous book. I mean, no matter what you got, it'll give you a natural remedy for it. And
You can get it on
oh, this is another thing. So when he dries his feet out of that bucket here, I'm supposed to put cold water over him.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to have his toes sticking up. And we'll do that. And then I dry him off real good. So, we got ice water here. Normally he's laying down and they bend their knees and put it in the bucket. Okay? And that's in that picture.
Could I get some volunteers to help me to the car?
Well, it must have been warm because his feet are red.
Yeah.
Good.
What would happen to the diabetic if you did so?
Oh, they would, the poor circulation, it'd be dangerous. They would bite with their foot.
Hello?
We'll leave it there. There's not all the cold ones. So it's almost time up.
Is
So
he
we're gonna-
sweating? Did he sweat at all?
Have you sweat? His feet did.
Yeah.
Go under your clothes, Art.
I used to be 6'6", but all settled here. Now she's got a cold rag.
Yeah, now when they're done, you take your cold rag and you give them a wrist rub.
There's Carol.
But you know, if you're really sick, that probably feels wonderful. If you're sick and feeling terrible, it probably feels really good.
Have John try it on you.
You drive like
Now I gotta drive your And then when you're all done with drying them off, you give them a gentle massage and send them a little sleep for an hour. That's what he's looking for. Are you dry?
Close enough.
Okay. So,
Cold hand.
oh, that should feel good.
Better than hot.
Better than the hot towel?
Did you tell me, Carol, that when you were a nurse, that you went through a period of time where you did this in nursing?
Yeah, well, we were taught that. Years ago, you weren't. I had physical therapy. So we, like nowadays, everything's in its own department. And we did it all. We did physical therapy, respiratory therapy, and all of those.
And so this was something you would have used in the clinics?
Yeah.
One's all I need. Seen everything else.
Yeah, we are, but not in our regular hospitals, nothing like
So
this.
everybody's got one of their little things that'll just give you some guidelines.
Thank you.
Checks in the mail.
You got another one?
Mark, where are your socks?
You don't want to money less before.
Where's your socks?
The real reason I don't want to put my socks on, I have trouble with this foot. And my wife does it.
I have to help him get his son.
Oh.
Since he had the hip replaced,
Yeah.
don't bend as easy.
I can do it, but I don't need to right now. I actually got a reacher at home, they put inside my sock and put that on too.
This one experience a little simple water filter. I use this one
Have you got a
a
pair of
bit.
minutes?
This is just to remove sediment.
Does that go on your faucet?
Just go in your water system if you're coming off of a shallow well, what I used it for. And it's a little easier. Turn it on, take it on. And I had disconnected to another one that had activated charcoal in it. And then if you hook that up, say to your Sawyer, you have a really nice system there. Or, I'm not sure which order you go in, probably want to get that out first.
So then you put the charcoal filter to that too?
I would. I have one.
Is that something you just buy like at Walmart or something?
Yeah. Someone mentioned iodine. UV sterilization is also something that can be done. I once installed a UV sterilizer under the sink of our, my mom's home in Montecamino. Ozone is another way to sanitize water. A lot of hot tubs, a lot of ozone units and stuff to it, so you use way less chlorine when you're disinfecting with the ozone. And there's many ways to treat water. So just a little bit about water ionizers. They are really a water use electrolysis to electrolyze the water and create more OH or hydrogen ions in the water.
That only does just create a different charge, remove anything and.
No, typically the water ionizers do a filtration stage first.
Okay.
So they do remove, and then they separate the water, and they get more hydrogen in the alkaline side that some people think will aid in your health. The main thing that is of concern here is your pH balance in your blood.
I thought you should have had your mother recommended me.
You can have that tested. I normally get that tested at least once a year. And you want your blood to be between 7.35 and 7.45. If it's falls below 7.35, that's considered acidosis, and if it's above 7.45, it would be alkalosis.
So you're supposed to be between 7.35 and 7.45.
Yeah, that's a pretty narrow little range. And your body has a process called homeostasis, and there's three main pathways that help keep that balance of the pH naturally. And the blood is a buffer solution, so if you combine acids and bases, you get certain salts that are a buffer solution. So if you added a little bit more acid, it would compensate for that. If you added a little base, it would compensate for that. pH wouldn't change very much. And that's how our blood is regulated. Our blood really doesn't change very much based on whether we just drink a glass of lemonade or drank some alkalized water. It doesn't have a huge effect. Unless potentially you're creeping over into that range where it's getting dangerous. So the way that one of the pathways that the body adjusts the blood chemistry is through robbing calcium from your bones to maintain a stable pH in your system. So there may be, and highly likely is, an epidemic in our society of people on the low end of the pH, so low-grade acidosis could be a big problem. And the best way to treat that is to eat 6 to 8 servings of vegetables every day, green leafy stuff, the natural way that God intended us to eat green vegetables. But that's a lot. How many green vegetables did I eat yesterday? I think I had 1 serving, maybe 2. And that's probably average. You know, I'm not doing very good. I like to eat lots of leaf greens, but they're not growing right now. And I like to eat lots of lettuce, but it's slowed down right now. So I watched a Dr. Oz episode, and he had everyone in his audience tested for carotenoid level, this meter, and almost everybody was on the low side, the acid side. And he and only a few others were on the high side that ate lots of vegetables every single day. So anyway, I wanted someone to come and talk. Let's see. A little about the water ionizers. So I invited Javier to come and give us his testimony of that.
Alright, so as you guys know, I have a kidney failure and been on dialysis now for 13 years. And well, thankfully about 2-3 years ago, I originally from Twin Cities, I got introduced to Kangen water, which is one of the machines that sort of similar to this. And so what it is, it's a medical device that comes from Japan. And it's in some of the hospitals in Japan, and the doctors give this water to the patients. They use it to clean the hospital and whatnot. It has 2 processes. It has a filter that takes away the contaminants, and it has a 7 medical grade titanium plates. It has a positive and negative charge. So the water goes through the filter, and it goes through these medical grade platinum plates, and it like shocks it kind of, and it changes the molecular levels of the water. So I'm basically drinking OH negative water, which is the negative is the highest form of antioxidant. So drinking 1 cup of this water equals like 5 pounds of blueberries or something like that. I just wanted to show you really quick on.
How big is the unit?
It's really smaller than this, really like half of that size. And so how the people came up with this is that there's these waters from around the world, where there's waterfalls and whatnot. People go and they drink this water. They call it miracle water because they fill up their gallons and they drink the water and they get healed. So the Russians went in the 1940s or something. They went to go study these waters, and the Japanese are the ones that came up and got the machines, made the machines. So he explained a little bit on the acidosis and all of that on the pH. So you want to be, as he said, said on 7 on the alkaline level, 7.35 he said or something. So if you go more on this side, it's more acidic. This side is more alkaline. And
For the health effects on both sides, how do you feel if you're?
well, this is acidic, meaning you're gonna have cancer.
Oh.
You're gonna have sickness, chronic disease, and whatnot. Alkaline, you're gonna be your ultimate health, you know. And of course, you know, on the bottom here, on the acid side, you have beef, pastries, pasta, cheese, soft drinks, beer, sugar. On the alkaline level, you have spinach, broccoli, olive oil, lettuce, celery, and everything on agave, and everything on mango in the bottom. So that's the kind of funny thing in there. And obviously, there's a big demo that we do and whatnot, because I do this on the side. You know, right now I'm working at Safeway part-time. I'm only making like a couple $100 literally a week, and that's not paying bills, you know. And so before I was just using it for my health benefit, but I got in the business side of it, so I've been learning a little bit more. And then I've been doing demos, some of you guys can come in and, you know, and I just want to show you real quick. So, you know, everybody drinks bottled water. We all think, oh, we're drinking bottled water. I'm not getting a Pepsi or a Coke or a Sprite. I'm getting bottled water. I'm drinking the healthy stuff, right? So we think that. And so purified means that it went through reverse osmosis filter, which the Japanese, unfortunately, they call it dead water, because reverse osmosis water removes everything, the bad stuff and the good stuff. And so water is like a sponge. It always wants to, like, it grabs whatever. So this water in there, we don't know how long it's been sitting in the storage or in the store or whatever. So the water, I don't know what that word it means, but it like absorbs it. And so this plastic is made of like toxic chemicals. So we're drinking toxic chemical water, you know. So I'll show you, here's something here real quick. So I have what is called an OR here, which reads the oxidation. So if it has a positive read, means that it's oxidating. So what is oxidation? When you cut open an apple, an avocado, it starts turning brown. So that's called, you know, being acidic or whatever. So an alkaline is the other way around. It's, you know, fresh, healthy, and whatnot. So if it has a positive reading here, I want to remind you that it's more acidic. So this right here, positive, and it's going higher, 190. So temperature goes to 200, 300. So that means it's acidic. And so this is the water that the machine makes.
Your plastic must be some special plastic.
Yeah, it's BPA free, and it's the color purple because you'll see why here in a minute. And so you saw the positive reading, it was 200, right? So now, if you look at there, it's a negative 500, 600. So remember, so that means it's an antioxidant, it becomes an antioxidant. So that's a lot of people that drink this water, they say they feel better, they have better sleep. And I've been to like seminars. I went to Vegas last year to learn about the water, and they talk about the water and stuff, and then at the end they do the testimony. It's like, oh, I no longer need the diabetic medicine. I don't have cancer anymore. I hear all these people's testimonies. They're crying and stuff, and all that. And so again, and I have some pH drops here. So remember on the colors here, on the colors, so if it's like this color over here, means it's more acidic, and if it's purple, means that it's alkaline. So I have pH drops that I'm going to check for that. So this is the sunny water. Everybody is drinking the bottled water.
Yellow?
It's kind of yellow, so that means that it's more acidic.
Oh, yeah.
And then think that I'm on dialysis. When I tell them I've been 13 years on dialysis, and they tell me like, what? I'm like, yeah. Well, obviously for the grace of God too, you know, because I do other things too. Water, I do clay, I do platinum, I do a little bit of everything. And so you're drinking the water, you're in this state, you will feel better right there.
Oh.
So that's what you start feeling better. So this is when I first got the machine. I gave a gallon to my grandma who doesn't have any chronic illness. She says she felt really well. She slept well because she had trouble sleeping. I gave a gallon to a lady from church who has diabetes. Her body was aching for 3 days because it was detoxing.
Oh, okay.
And so, anyways, that was just my little testimony. I don't want to take more of the time and stuff, but yeah, if you guys ever want to, I'm going to hopefully, you know, I'll get the job in Auburn, but I'll still be here till like December. But I have the machine, and I even have a loaner machine, so if any of you guys want to try it, I'll give you guys the water for free. You know? And then plus we all, I have somebody else in here who bought the machine, and they were willing to give out the water.
Do you have to run it through a charcoal filter to remove the
Well,
pure water?
this-
You have to put
the-
pure water into it that's already been,
The machine has a
oh, it has a charcoal filter?
It has a machine.
So it removes all the bacteria?
Yeah, it removes
everything.
chlorine and all that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it does more than just correct the pH?
Right.
It cleans
It
the
makes,
water?
that's just, I just showed you a little bit of the big demo. It makes 7 types of water. Yeah. But if anyone wants to have a whole gallon, if you want to, if you guys want to try it.
Randy has some little cups, you can fill some up out there, over there in the back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just.
Yeah, there.
I just think water is pretty cool, and you can do fun stuff with it, like go swim in it and fishing. It's interesting that ice cubes float. Water is the only liquid that, when it's in its solid phase, floats. And it has quite a large amount of surface tension, which allows it to do things like creep up through the little capillaries in a plant to get to the top of a giant tree. And that surface tension can be demonstrated by carefully placing a paper clip, which is much heavier than the water, on top of the water, and the paper clip will actually float because of the surface tension. The surface of the water is like a little trampoline. So let me see if I can do this with my hand here. There it is. Oh, it floated for a second there.
That's a scuba clip.
I brought a whole bunch of paper clips, or we can try it.
Slip it the wrong way.
I'll try it this way, I'll turn it sideways. We believe you, Richard.
Get that balsa wood paper clip out there, Rich.
Because if it's wet, then the water and the tension sucks the paper clip down in.
So you guys can try that, Jack.
Hold your okay for this. It can be done. So let's see, what else we have here? Oxygenated water. I mentioned before, you can shake up your water and make it oxygenated. Oxygen is good for you. They use hyperbaric chambers with 100% oxygen for people that have gone through open heart surgeries to help improve their healing rate. But basically what happens there is you get oxygen that actually dissolves into your blood. And because it's dissolved in your blood, like when you go scuba diving, you get nitrogen and oxygen dissolved in your blood. When you come up too fast, you can get nitrogen narcosis, where that gas starts coming out of solution and in your joints, causes you to bend up in what they call the bends. If you just breathe 100% oxygen at 2 atmospheric pressures, a lot of that oxygen dissolves in your blood. And then when your red blood cells bring oxygen to a certain place for healing, now they've given up their oxygen, they actually turn a darker color. If you've noticed, sometimes you'll have veins that look blue. They have lost their oxygen, so they're on their way back to the lungs. But if you've got dissolved oxygen in your blood, they can pick up oxygen right out of the blood and turn red again and still be able to continue healing without having to go all the way back to the lungs. So, in theory, if we can get more oxygen into our blood, it's a tremendous aid in healing. And we're all in the process of healing all the time because our cells are becoming damaged and replenishing themselves and reproducing. So our health is a process of renewal, and oxygen helps in that renewal process. So any way we can get oxygen into our cells is good, and it's potentially feasible. If you drink water that has more oxygen in it, that it's going to go somewhere. It's going to absorb in somewhere, and in your digestion or in your blood. So I always like to shake up my water before I drink it. Well, we're going to have Eric come up and talk about methods of oxidation. So I use a pump like this and some stones similar to this, I would pick a giant one, that I put in my, I want to call it a fertilizer tank. It's a big tub that I have chicken manure in and water, and it creates a fertilizer tea. If you don't have oxygen bubbling in it, it becomes rancid and it smells like a sewer. But if you have water bubbling in it all the time, it promotes the healthy bacteria to grow that you want to put in your soil for the soil to be healthy. You don't want to put rancid sewer septic water into your soil or your garden is going to stink. But if you oxygenate your fertilizer, it'll be much more healthy. It creates the healthy enzymes and bacteria that your soil needs. So our body is somewhat like that also. Eric, you want to come up and talk a little bit about oxygenated water? Since he knows a little more about it than me. I had a really neat slide about acidosis, but I don't think I put it on.
I'm gonna sit down.
So I don't have any notes. So is oxygenation the same thing as oxidation?
No.
What's that?
Not really.
Not really, Jim says.
No.
What?
You have to have oxygen to cause oxidation.
Okay. So oxygen is really good for us in our bodies, right? But oxidation, a lot of it, or an overdose of it, isn't good for us. It's being oxidized. So, but that's not all caused by oxidation, right? Go ahead.
When you get over, you oxidate.
And you oxidate more. Our bodies don't take care of themselves. So where do we begin? So what I'm kind of talking about is a type of water. It's been given a name that is highly oxygenated type of water. Okay. And Richard mentioned the hyperbaric chambers. The hyperbaric chambers are actually an attempt to produce the same effect as what this oxygenated water does. So how did this oxygenated water come about? Well, a scientist, a chemist, physicist who works with water, is in the mining industry, who He's got a doctorate in chemistry and a doctorate in physics, and he's like 2 courses away from being a medical doctor, but back 40 years ago when he was going through college, he didn't want to be a medical doctor because he didn't like what he saw going on in medicine. So, but he still had an interest in health, which is different from medicine. And he would subscribe to different research facilities newsletters, and one that he found that he liked the best was the one back there in the, I think it's in Minneapolis. I was just thinking of it a couple minutes ago here, and I'm having a brain. Was that the Mayo Clinic? And there's 2 sides to the Mayo Clinic. There's the research side, and then there's the medicine side. He subscribed to the research side. And about 40 years ago, they had made a discovery that 97.5% of all pathogens that affect the human body are anaerobic. They thrive in a low oxygen or non-oxygen environment. And since this guy was into water and everything, he just got to thinking about that, and he woke up one morning with this way that he thought to have the oxygen in the water be at a higher level. You know, there's all kinds of people doing that all the time. This was at a very, very high level. So we know that the water is H2O, but actually it's H4O2, right? We don't know that. And so he had to devise a specific way of how to get the water to break apart, and so that then the oxygen, with the extra oxygen, would stay with the water. And he came up with that. It's actually like the water, the oxygen is entrained in the water. So after the water goes through this process, it's just electrolysis, just like what Javier's machine is, but it's actually using a different blend of platinum group metals. That's all he did, was he just figured out how to do that. He happens to be a metallurgist who deals with that kind of stuff. And so the hydrogen and the oxygen break apart, and then it's done in such a way that the oxygen will re-grab and re-stay in that water molecule. It's entrained in the water, and then when we drink it, or if you soak in it in a tub, that molecular bond that between the hydrogen and that oxygen it's strong. It's not the strong polar bond that a regular water molecule has, but it's a strong bond so that it stays in there. You can shake it up or whatever, and it stays where this oxygen is there. But if you're soaking it in a tub and it gets close to your blood or goes into your skin, the attraction of that oxygen for the iron in your blood is way, way stronger. So that oxygen will transfer into your blood onto the iron in your blood. Now, a good reason just generally just to have water is, and it doesn't matter whether we're drinking the water from Stanwood City Water or wherever, is that, I'm just going to mention this, it's on my mind. In order for oxygen to go through our bloodstream, it takes 19 molecules of water to transport one oxygen. 1O1, single oxygen. And that's the reason why in 99.9% of cases where people have heart attacks or strokes, it's because they're dehydrated. They're not getting enough oxygen through the system. So it's a good reason to stay hydrated. And you don't need to stay hydrated with special water in order to have enough water in your system to keep the oxygen flowing. You just need to have water, just good, clean water. It doesn't need to be zapped with anything. There's other benefits like Javier was talking about to keep us from getting chronic illnesses or to get over some of these bad chronic illnesses. But to just be hydrated and be able to carry oxygen through our bodies, it's just regular old city water. We have the purest water in the world here in the USA. I'm one of those people who thinks that we're making a mountain, not even out of a molehill. They're just creating a bunch of stuff so that they can sell you their latest filter or whatever. Chlorine is necessary for us for life, right? So
they're selling this oxygenated water at the grocery stores for a lot of money per bottle. And you can, it'll say special oxygenated water or in health food stores and stuff. But I read that you get 3 times the amount of oxygen just from breathing air as you do from a 60-ounce bottle of oxygenated water.
Okay, so that's a study there. I suppose not all oxygenated water is the same. Yeah.
Maybe some.
Some super oxygen. So what happened with this fellow, that he woke up, had this idea, he thought, well, you know, you're going to get scientists, you got to put it together, you got to get out of your mind into the laboratory, and then out of the lab, you got to go into a pilot project. So he did that, and was able to test the water, and found out it was okay and good, and so they started out by going to some chicken farmers and letting the chickens drink this water. And what do? You do a test on average for every chicken house. There's so many that die in every cycle before they're shipped off to the processing plant, and it was incredible. So then this fellow started. He was making it. I don't know when he started making it himself at home, drinking it himself, and then his friends all started coming over and getting the water, drinking the water. Again, the reason for doing this was because 97.5% of all pathogens thrive in a low oxygen or non-oxygen environment. And one of those is cancer. Otto Warburg, a scientist from back in the 30s and the 40s when he was doing this work, he found out that cancer was anaerobic. And so oxygen therapy, whatever way you're doing it, is good. You can take ozone, just a little ozone generator, and breathe the ozone, put it in any orifice of your body. I know some people who cure a bad case of cancer, and that's just what they did, just using an ozone generator. So oxygen itself will attack and kill cancer. That's long proven. Also, the other thing, cancer cannot live it can't live in that outland environment that Javier was talking about. That's why these Kangen machines now, they're proven. They are very effective. It's very effective. I don't know how to just say it over and over again. They're very, very effective on treating cancer. So back to this other water. The scientist is a scientist, and he's not into going out and dealing with people. He's got things going on inside his mind, about chemistry and physics and calculations that you have to do and to be able to do that stuff. He's just not into dealing with people. So we had to get other people connected with him, some investors and some people who were going to meet the public. So he went to some people that were organized together, kind of like a food co-op kind of thing. They're called East Park Research in Henderson, Nevada. And those guys, and the stage for being able to create this water was at a small level, just a few gallons at a time. And anyway, what they would do is they would make some of the water, and then they put it in a plastic bag, and then put hot water in a tub, heat the water, do a transfer of heat into the plastic bag, so that then you can get inside the plastic bag, inside this oxygenated water, and let it absorb in through your skin. Something else you should say about this water, there's something called structured water. Structured water is known as water that at the molecule size of water, where when H4O2 and H4O2 join together, two of them join together, then you got a molecule. So two or more waters together form a molecule. When it's structured water, when you look at it under a special kind of a microscope, which maybe the computer thing could put that up here, but it's called structured water, and looks like a snowflake. There's lots of pictures. There's a guy in Japan who's done a lot of work with that. You can easily go look up structured water. That structured water molecule is that. Now, this is really significant if you're wanting to do this, and Javier's water is structured water also. If you're really wanting to do something medicinally or health-wise with water, not just be drinking water to hydrate, because we can go drink water over here. Again, we can drink water over here out of the sink, and we'll get hydrated. The structured water will hydrate you quicker But what do you care if it takes you 3 minutes to get hydrated or 5 minutes to get hydrated? It's a non-issue, it doesn't matter.
Unless on the cellular level.
Unless on the cellular level, or if you're wanting to treat something, if you're wanting to get that higher, the high ORP and that higher alcohol, well, today, they took on, at the time that I was getting acquainted with the bill, they took on Charlton Heston as a patient, a senator from South Dakota. He got over his cancer and everything. So they started thinking that, well, we'd like to take this and put it into the, quote, into the mainstream, but there were forces from pharmaceutical companies and the American Medical Association that thought otherwise. And so the group, the investors and the doctors, they had medical doctors and they had naturopathic type doctors working at East Park Research. They said, well, we've got to do something different here because we're going to get shut down before we get going here in the USA. And one of the doctors, his name is Dr. Robert Lyons. He's a naturopath. He originally from Hungary. He escaped Hungary when he was 14 years old, went through the barbed wire, being shot at, literally escaping Hungary, got over his country. But in the meantime, Hungary, communism had been toppled. And so he went back to Hungary, and they set up a plant in Hungary where they had large-scale production of this water to where multiple labs could be filled and used on a daily, regular, hourly basis. And so they started treating people with cancer, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and problems with your circulatory system, atherosclerosis. Anyway, the results have just been phenomenal. When they first started out, the first 4 or 5 years, they had 97.5% success rate of curing all forms of cancer. And these were the beyond bad. These were beyond, 4 months to live type patients. They had nothing left. And then since that's happened, then people gained confidence and they decided, well, I want to go try this out too. And they're down, last I heard, they were at 92.5% success rate. It's kind of close to Kangen, K1, K-A-Q-U-N, K1 water. It means something, and I don't remember what it is. So you can look that up on the internet. And the interesting thing is, 3 times that I know of, they tried to bring it into the U.S. to put like little clinics for soaking and for health benefits. It's also just really good for just cleaning your skin and for general overall feeling and for looks, just looking better with your skin. And I don't know, back when it was 17, 18 years ago, I was thinking about, to set up one of those kinds of clinics here locally, but it just wasn't going to happen because of forces in the government and the American Medical Association. Anyway, good news is, and I've kept looking at this from time to time, they now have 3 places in the U.S. where you can go and avail yourself of this for health benefits, and one's in Las Vegas, one's in Florida, and one is in California. You can look it up on the internet. Take One Water. What else should I talk about that stuff?
Here also it says about the structured water. I was reading from internet. It should be matured. It should be energized. This and structured water only is not good. It has to be energized with structured water.
Okay, so there's like most anything, there's a number of different aspects about different things. So I'm thinking of structured water as a small cluster water. Okay, so it's smaller molecules, smaller clusters, so that because like regular water does not easily, if at all, out of the tap, it's not going to go through your skin if you soak in a hot tub. It just doesn't going to do it. But a smaller structured molecule water does that much more readily. Okay, and that's the benefit to that. It passes through the ozone. It lands up in the mountains. If they collect that water up there and look at it under the dark field microscope, it is in the structure of what they call structured water. It goes down the mountain stream and tumbles, gets oxygenated and tumbles through that process. It will also take on that. We're talking about the teeny tiny size of a molecule of water will take on that snowflake type of a structure of structured water instead of the glob. I have a book that has pictures and stuff like that, but I don't have it here. I don't know where it is. It's packed in a box somewhere. So just for delivering oxygen, delivering a higher pH, that type of a structure, molecular structure, is highly beneficial because it's a smaller molecule. It's going to get there where it needs to go to do the work it needs to do. And the Kangen water does that, as well as the stuff called Cake One water. Now, the Cake One water is not available to you. I mean, you can buy it off the internet. I used to sell it for $2.50 a gallon to some people that had cancer and stuff. And you can buy it off the internet for $15 a liter now. You know, yeah, it's not going to work out. You're way better off getting a Kangen machine or something like that. Or Richard has discovered a new thing where he can. Did you tell him about your coral? So, Richard's researching all the time. You got any questions, just ask Richard. You think Richard probably got more stuff? Richard is never going to die from cancer. And if Richard gets it, he's going to get over it and conquer it. He's got everything there is to do it, except for the Cake One.